This is the planet we've decided to invade. It's called Earth. All personnel, prepare for invasion.
See the advanced weaponry the depraved aliens will use.
Huh.
Ooh, dangerous.
To take over, then destroy Earth.
The hand of death.
We can control them.
How delicious.
See the fighting and insubordination that's tearing the alien crew apart.
You have been found guilty!
As you wish, bitch. I moved.
Careful.
Is there a way to stop these demons in their sexually depraved attempt at alien overthrow? Will we be forced to spend the rest of our lives walking around in silly underwear?
We'll all have to use special precautions.
His name is J. Edgar Hoover, and he was a cross-dresser.
Cross-dresser? We're in trouble now.
Hi, this is Roland Korshidian-Zada, and I'm on the scene with Brina Healy.
How are you, Rowan?
Doing good?
A toast to our audience.
So Brina has had quite the impressive career between modeling and acting and directing and producing, and it's great to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you. So I started, you said modeling. I started modeling when I was about, I think it was 21. 20 or 21. I started a model for Jordan Marsh.
Can you tell us about that experience? How was that?
Well, I am one of those people that has I'm a little bit gender different than most. And there's a lot of gay men in the industry, and I wasn't really sure how to react with that. And we did runways. I like the print work best. The trade shows and the runways, I was a little bit nervous because of just the interaction with people. And I was a little unsure, like I say, my sexuality. I knew I was kind of, in the middle myself. And then there was just so many gay men in there. And I was a little uncomfortable on being, approached by gay men, and kind of worked my way out of it. But it was interesting while it lasted.
And then after that, you were involved with films with Adam Sandler.
Oh, that came much later. My first film work was when I was doing college yearbooks. I'm a photographer by trade.
Okay.
And I was shooting college yearbooks, and it was up in the Upper Peninsula, the Upper of Michigan, and one of the students says, hey, we've got our film studies class. I was there on the campus for, 3 weeks or so. And he said, hey, could you help us out? Could you help us out? We need a character for the film. We need a photographer. And they're like, yeah, I can do that. That was my first one there. That was about 1977. And from there, it kind of snowballed into different areas.
So what got you interested in acting and filmmaking?
First, I went to I had audiovisual class in high school, and I enjoyed, most of the aspects of that. I never really actually picked up a camera until like 1970, maybe 76 or 77 myself. And people would say, hey, there's pictures, and it was just like I picked up a camera, and I thought I had some talent. And one of my chums from high school, his dad was an amateur photographer for a long, long time. And he looked at some of the pictures from one of my first rolls of film, and he was very, very kind. And he just said, well, we've got this and this and this. And I know he was laughing because the work was awful. So with just a few tips, I kind of took to it pretty easily. And I went to school to Mass College of Art, took some classes at Mass College of Art. I didn't get as far as like a graduate degree or anything from Mass College, so some of those classes helped me as well. From there, I started doing the yearbook photography for colleges. I did that on and off. I did 3 seasons to start with, and then I did, 2 or 3 seasons, to fill in work. That college yearbook work only lasts from August all the way through December. Sometimes it goes into January and February with reshoots or sports or paste ups, depending on what you want to do. And that kind of that got me off on my tangent photography. Some of the schools, they would only have us do the portrait work, and they would have students do the rest of the sports, and they do the event work, and they do the class work, and all the fillers that you see in the yearbooks. You get the yearbook composed. When I worked at UCLA in my second season, and I spent 6 months in LA. That was one of my first times. I loved it. Got to spend 6 months in LA. Actually, we're in Whitman now, close to Boston, and the street, I was on Dorchester Street and Melrose, right under the Melrose sign in Regent Housing for 3 months. And it was just an amazing spot, and I just felt so fortunate to be able to do that.
How did you first become involved with film?
First got involved with film in the year when I was doing some of the yearbook photography. I ended up working in one of the student films. I was a photographer.
As a role?
As a role, and I said, hey, this is pretty cool. And I liked that, and from there I went to, I think the first thing I did was TV pilot, and that was never sold, so that didn't do anything. And from there, a few more student films, while I was doing my yearbook. I think my first real studio film was My Blue Heaven with Steve Martin.
Okay,
and
wow.
We filmed that in Jack Murphy Stadium in San Diego during the baseball game.
So what type of a role was that? Was it a prominent role, an extra?
Oh, just in the background.
Okay.
But I was made sure, I said I had been involved with some of the student films, so I knew camera angles. So when they let us onto the scene, the principals, the principal area was roped off, so I knew where the principals were going to be sitting. And I just made sure I was in the background of the camera, and they never moved me, and I just made it into the film on my first time in the studio.
But then where did you go from there after that?
Next film I did was The Heist with Pierce Brosnan. We filmed that at the Del Mar racetrack in Del Mar, and that was fun. And the next film after that, I got to meet, I was really fortunate, I worked on Wayne's World. The meal of the day was a barbecue, and this was a dog's barbecue. There must have been 3 stations, it must have been 30 feet worth of food.
Wow.
And it was all really amazing, and they needed there was probably about 80 of us in doing background in the song. And that's where I met Chris Farley. He was really nice. That's one of the anecdotes about film. You get to meet people, and you never know who you meet that you may not ever get a chance to work with again. I worked with Lloyd Bridges on Blown Away later, and I didn't speak with him personally. He was in the background. He was watching the scenes. He was watch all the playbacks on the monitors and things like that. But I did get to see him, and it was nice to say that I was able to work on a production with him.
I just think the best thing is you actually got to meet James Bond.
It's it was an interesting shoot. Good-looking guy. I worked with Tom Skerritt. He was one of the actors from Alien.
Wow. Which character was he?
He was. I don't recall his character's name, but he was the jerk of the film.
Okay, yeah, I think I know who you're talking about. It's either the black guy or the guy who was constantly agreeing with him. Yup,
Yes.
yup.
Yep, that's it.
Was he the white guy or the black guy?
Tom Skerritt was the white guy.
Okay, got it. Yup, yup.
Yep.
Then he gets killed.
Then he gets killed.
Sorry if I spoiled an old movie. Wow. So that's really great getting to meet all those people. And then what else have you been involved with in between that and the independent films that you're working on now?
Oh, there was after Wayne's World, we ended up moving to Boston. And then we started getting involved in Boston films. And that was fun too. There was so much production here now, there was not as much back when I was doing early films in Boston in the 90s. But now everything is here, and there were so many of us, so many of you people that are in all this Boston work, having a good time.
After that, you started becoming involved with independent film. What can you tell us about your more recent experiences?
Oh, recent experiences with independent films are awesome. There's some of the filmmakers that we work with in the area between Boston and Rhode Island, really nice filmmakers. We had worked on everything from horror films with major stars that they fly in and do the indie for you, and local A-listers. One of the first ones was actually a very, very interesting film. We filmed it in a residence down in Fall River. It was more of a museum than it was a residence. And the film was called Jonah Lives, and that was Louis Carvalho was the director. And it was a great time. Brink Stevens, she's a scream queen. She flew in from Hollywood to help out with the film. And people say, well, what's a scream queen? You guys know what a scream queen is, right? That's one of the... That's the girl that's running through the woods. The bad guy's chasing her with an axe. She trips over a dust ball and then she dies.
Oh, I thought the scream queen was actually going to scream.
Oh, they do. It's just, I guess, one of those pet trade names for the people that are on screen that get sacrificed.
The human sacrifice. But now it's a scream queen.
Yes. And I was in the makeup chair getting my makeup ready, and I hadn't been introduced to her, and she came in while I was halfway through my makeup. And we started some small talk. I didn't introduce myself at the time. And I said, I still love the attention of all the, this was, Jennifer Traub was the makeup artist at the point, and she made me look really good, and I had lamented to Brink that I still love being in the makeup chair, and she goes, well, you know, I've been in a lot of film work, I can kind of live without it, and I just said to myself, oh, okay. So, you know, some people like it and some people don't. So when we went upstairs to set, I introduced myself and she goes, oh yeah, my name's Brink. And she goes, I've done a lot of work. And at that point I understood why she wasn't really that thrilled about the makeup chair. She said she had been in some films where she had prosthetics and whatnot, or she had wounds put on, and that can take, you know, hours in the makeup chair.
Especially if it's like a full body cast, because you have to show that their entire body has been mangled. I don't know if she was, but...
Well, probably, I would imagine she'd been in like her credits. You can look her up online. She's like 150 credits. That's amazing. You know who's another local actor, not an actor, but has done work locally and has an amazing number of credits? Is Eric Roberts. He has over 400 acting credits. And he's done, I believe, probably about 3, 4, maybe 5 films locally in the past 2 or 3 years. Amazing number of credits. A very, very busy guy.
How do you do 400 films? Over how many years is that?
Well, he's been, I can't quote his start and stop, but in just 2015 and 2016, he has probably 6 or 8 movies that are in production now. So he's a busy guy.
That's scary.
So getting back to some of the other films, we had done other work. We did one in New Hampshire. It's called Visionary, and it was actually it was kind of a dark, macabre film, and that starred Melissa McMeekin, and she was on the tail end of 30 Rock, and we were all so happy about someone finally making it to series TV. And Melissa was on the tail end of 30 Rock. I think she performed in like the last 3 or 4 episodes, and then that was the last season.
Well, that's great. That must have been great for her to be able to act with Tina Fey and all those other stars.
Oh, you know, my girlfriend Sandra, we talk about all the time, we're just dying for someone in our circle to make it big. You know, so we can, so we can say, well, that she's a friend of mine or anything, but just the effort that a lot of the actors put out, it would be really, really thrilling to see someone make it to a regular series or big film. Erica McDermott, she's mom, 2 daughters, nice family, from down in Scituate. She's done several movie films now. She's had speaking parts in like 3 of them now. So she may be the one that is turns into the Hollywood regular that we're all waiting for.
Here's hoping. Though I know several actors who are SAG eligible or they've gone SAG, and it's just a matter of can they get a role that's prominent enough and then have something that's widespread enough.
Yeah, like I'm SAG myself, and I don't want to join the union because there's just not enough work here. If I got a decent role, I'd join the union in a heartbeat if I got a good role. But they're still bringing in too many actors from out of state. In Massachusetts is actually, it's a film bastion now, because we have the film credit, and they're still trying to get rid of that.
Yeah.
But all the people in Massachusetts are so good about being so insistent and so steadfast on keeping our film credit. The films keep coming.
I hope that one day New England, Massachusetts included, can actually compete with California, and then it's seen as legitimate enough that if they want to shoot a film in Massachusetts, or Rhode Island, or New Hampshire, they don't bring in people from California. They just use the people right here.
Well, they just finished filming maybe 8 weeks ago down at the old Weymouth Naval Air Base, and that was the new Ghostbusters. They have a sound stage there that's really big, and what they did actually is they hung the green screen outside of the warehouse. So they did all their outside scenes. There must be, I think they're chase scenes with cars and things like that. And then other work that's been produced locally was Rest in Peace Department with Jeff Bridges. And they filmed that in the old Stop and Shop distribution center in Hyde Park. And they must have actually got that place for a song. You know, it's just sitting vacant, so they might as well do something with it, and they made a movie.
Yeah, why not?
Yep. And the Adam Sandlers, like you started to mention, are big around the area. And a lot of people poo-poo Adam Sandler. Why? They actually, the movies make money, they have fun, they contribute to the local economy, and it's a win-win situation for everyone. I recall that we were on Grown Ups, and after the film was in production, there was articles in the newspaper about the film. And one of them was a hardware store. It was either up in Exeter or Ipswich, one of the northern towns where they were filming. And the owner had expected to show about a $40,000 loss for the year. And production came in, and they would come in with a big list, you know, something that you would go to like a big lumber center or a big box store to get all that stuff. But they would go to this hardware store and say, okay, we're gonna need 50 gallons of this color paint. We're gonna need 800 board feet of this board. We're gonna need all this hardware. We're gonna need cabinetry hardware. We're gonna need some windows and whatnot. And they were really nice. They bought it from the local hardware store, and they paid more than they would have at a big box store or like a lumber company, but it contributed to the local economy. And he ended up showing, I believe it was about $130,000 profit. So he made, it was somewhere around the vicinity of $175,000 from the Sandler film.
So with all these big studio films, you get to deal with a lot of celebrities and unfortunately probably a lot of egos. Can you tell me what it's like dealing with the big stars?
Well, I'm not in the position where I'm doing, you know, a lot of dialogue scenes with these people. I'm doing still mostly background, to be honest with you. And it's still fun, it's still enjoyable. It's interesting to see people as you would normally see them while they're on the film set, because they're just like you and me. A quick anecdote, I did some casting work on Moonrise Kingdom. It's a Wes Anderson film. We filmed that down in Rhode Island, almost down by at Camp Yeegog.
Yeegog?
almost to the Connecticut border. And we had a whole bunch of Cub Scouts. There were about 200 Cub Scouts on the set. And the scene was shooting on a Saturday and Sunday, and it rained like the devil on Thursday and Friday. And everybody was just hoping for clear weather on Saturday so the kids would have a good time to film. And I couldn't break the news to them that it was a storm scene. So we've got all these people that are just praying that Thursday and Friday was a lot of rain. It was a really tough weather pattern for a couple of days. And then when everybody was on the scene Saturday, they come to find out, are you kidding me? This is a storm scene? So they had a huge suspension of water, and those big fans, these big fans, they're about 5 feet tall, to blow the water, and had bags of leaves and everything. So the kids were stuck in a typhoon. And getting back to how do actors react, Bill Murray was on the scene, and I talked to Bill Murray, and I went up to introduce myself, and I put my hand out to shake. I said, Bunny Breckenridge, and actually he won't shake, so he's like, he doesn't shake hands. And he said, oh, Bunny. He goes, now, I see you're transsexual. I'm not transsexual. I just played one in the film. I do have some friends that are transsexual, and he's doing it in character. Okay. And it was one of those moments where you just never forget it. You know, all the work on getting 200 kids wrangled onto the set and behaving, that was it. That one interaction with Bill Murray made up for all that work. Another situation where I worked on The Heat with Sandra Bullock and Mel McCarthy. We were coming back and forth, back to one, on take after take, and for the first 3 takes, we must have done like 6 takes of this one scene. So for the first 3 takes, there was someone from the set that was escorting her back to one. So like on the fourth and fifth and sixth take and whatnot, she's walking by herself. And I was on the scene with my son Connor, and my son's been on like 4 studio films with me. And we talked to Sandra when we were walking back to one. And I said to her, I says, excuse me, I says, how do you tell a brunette that she was just so attractive as a blonde? And she looked at me, are you talking about The Blind Side? And I said, yeah. She goes, that's okay, I think you already have. And she was just so really nice about it. And she just is a plain person, just like anyone else. Probably spends $30,000-$40,000 on her hair, you know, what we all make in a year if she has in her hair, but she was just as nice as anyone else.
That's insane, but that just proves, you know, people are people.
People are people, yeah.
But speaking of films that are actually being in production, let's talk about the film that you're working on, Transsexuals from Space.
Yep, we're doing a lot more work. Started out at 23 minutes, and then we worked our way up to about 29 minutes. And we started reshooting scenes. Actually, the reshoots began in May of 2014. So they're getting a little bit long in the tooth. But everyone's a volunteer on the film, so we have to kind of build our schedule around the actors' availability. And sometimes they may not be available for a while. Sometimes, actually, I have to admit, sometimes I do get lazy on the writing and the film work. But we have about some 7 or 8 scenes in the can, and we're going to shoot 4 more, and then we're looking for 65 to 70 minutes. Actually, here in the studio, guys, you can't see it. We've got a kind of a cool fabric backdrop here, but this studio is the bridge for the Lipstick One, the spaceship. We've set it up right behind the backdrops.
Mm-hmm. What was your inspiration for coming up with Transsexuals from Space?
Well, I had a lot of material in the back of my mind, and I was being more involved in film work, and people were doing their own films, and I said, oh, I can do one of those, that's easy. That's a joke. Film work is not easy. It's a lot of work. It's very, very time consuming, and it's expensive unless you have a backer. Most of the people that do indie film work, they have to do fundraising campaigns on like Kickstarter and FundMe to get the funds to complete their films. I have put almost all of my own personal, probably about 95% of the funds that it took to bring the film to this point came from me.
Wow. I saw the film in the theater about a year and a half ago, the short version, of course, and that was a lot of fun. And I think it's great that you're actually taking the opportunity to expand that thing to feature length.
Yeah, and we've put a lot in it. There's a lot of reference to drama, to comedies, to other horror movies. And I don't actually even know how much reference there is. I may say, for example, there might be 60 references to other work going on in our film. And someone will come back to me and they'll say, you know, I watched that film and I found probably 10 or 12 things that you didn't really reference in that. So if someone is really into it, they'll enjoy it, and they'll pick out whatever they want from it. It's going to be a cult film. It has a movie kit, just like that other famous film with the movie kit. So we used a lot of some of the influence of Rocky Horror to kind of guide our film. It's totally different, actually. The only thing that's actually that similar is we're both from space. But Rocky Horror is about 40 years old now, so we're hoping to be able to kind of, you know, get up in that genre where people say, hey, there's this other movie that's great too. Or we could always have a double feature, would be awesome.
That would be great.
You know, it would be transsexuals from space and then have Rocky Horror after that.
I mean, just imagine people acting out those scenes.
Yep.
Or people dressing up in drag or not drag, depending upon how you want to look at it.
Yeah, part of the cult, we wrote the cult appeal in that one of the scenes, well, there's several of the scenes actually where men wear bras. So what we plan to do is at each showing, I've collected bras. I was on Free Cycle, and I said, let me know if you got bras. And I spent about a year collecting bras, so I have probably 60 or 70 bras in storage down in the basement. And guys wear bras over their shirt, and girls wear boxer shorts over their pants.
Wow.
And that's, you know, it's a little bit of a costume dress up, although anybody can do any kind of cosplay. That would be really interesting too. It would be the icing on the cake for me to have people come to the film, you know, dressed up however they want to. You know, there's just so many different genres of people and categories that anyone can jump into and enjoy from there.
Mm-hmm. I know that'd be great to have so many people actually acting that out.
Oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing people's reactions when we get the full-length film out.
I actually have some friends who are actively involved in the RKO Army and the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and I'd love to see their reactions to it, and then what they could actually contribute when they're acting out those scenes. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, that's good. Hey, this is edited, and it's continuity, and our drinks just magically appeared. We just filled up.
Yay.
So let's have a toast to a successful premiere and a successful run for Transsexuals from Space when we finish our full-length version.
Exactly.
Bro, nice to see you again.
Yeah. Different day, same set.
Same set.
So, looks like you got a lot going on here with That's My Boy.
Oh, That's My Boy. That was all kinds of fun. This is the poster from the film. That's one of the most fun parts of the film is after it's done and the poster comes out and you get to sign each other's poster. Actually, even more, it's a little bit of vanity and a little bit of pride is when you're at a red carpet and you have a table set up and people are buying the posters, and someone will come up and say, hey, would you sign my poster? You can put any kind of little, you know, I love you or any kind of little blurb on it, and it gives you a little, it's for all the work that we get done, and a lot of times a little bit of pay, or sometimes we'll do a film for no pay. You know, it's kind of nice to have that little point where we get to enjoy ourselves and sign the posters and whatnot. This is actually on That's My Boy. I've done 4 or 5 Sandler films.
Wow. And
this was my first Sandler film that I got a speaking role in. And I was in 2 scenes, and the first scene is still there. That's in the Ralph Morgan TV show. We shot that at WGBH TV in Boston. And the premise behind that was we're waiting to go on the show. And then Adam Sandler comes in and he interacts with the secretary. And then Vanilla Ice comes in, and they're interacting, and they have a fight. Meanwhile, we're in the green room saying, hey, I don't want anything to do with this. This is a little too much crazy out there for us.
Great.
It was fun. So our scene was like it was an under 10. I had about 5 lines, and I was with my scene partner, and we're like, oh, we're supposed to fight on the set, you know, because the Ralph Morgan show was kind of like a Jerry Springer. And like I say, that part didn't make it, but after I saw the finished film, basically what they do when they shoot a feature film is they'll say, well, I'm shooting for approximately 90 minutes worth of film, and they'll shoot 3 hours, 4 hours worth of film, and then they'll just distill the film down. They'll cut this, they'll snip there, until they get the final length of the feature film that they want. And after I saw the full film, and I was disappointed that my first speaking role in a Sandler film was cut, but I understood why, because it wasn't really necessary. Oh, that's our own film. Be careful of the transsexual menace to Earth, people. And we had a really fun time doing it. I started writing it in 2010. We filmed it in 2013, and we've been kind of expanding on it ever since. We have 11 scenes that are going to go into it, and that'll bring it up to, I'm looking for about 75 minutes. And we also have kids in it. We shot on the public gardens in Boston, and it rained like heck that day. It was like torrential rain. The only day in that whole month where it rained like crazy, so we had to scramble a little bit and this and that for the film. But we have 6 kids in it, little grade school kids, and they're helping to teach diversity and acceptance, which is really good. Ultimately, what I'd like to do is I'd like to have, it's PG rated, because there's no sex, there's no violence, there's no blood, and it's 99% profanity free.
Wow.
And so then we try to draw the reporters and the interviewers in, and they say, well, what's the 1% profanity? And I say, well, we had to sneak in oh shit in there just to give it some little bit of curiosity to it. But it'll be fun. We're looking towards a late summer 2016 release for the full feature-length film.
Great. And all these signatures here, I take it these are actors who were in the film, crew?
Yep. This is not like, it hasn't been fully released yet with the full version, so everybody hasn't signed it. This is just a cast signed poster.
Okay, got it.
So here we are in a new film.
Yeah, Jonah lives.
Jonah does.
Wow, that's great.
Yep, this was a full indie film. It was filmed in Fall River and I believe parts of New Bedford and down to the south coast of Massachusetts and maybe a part of Rhode Island. Full independent film. Cast of about 15 and fully financed by the independent film team, written by Louis Carvalho. We got to film in a doctor's house, and it's like kind of like a museum of the occult. I think at one point it was a funeral home. So he has it decorated with all kinds of macabre items. You know, shrunken heads and animal skulls and old, like African tribal drums and things like that. It was a really interesting shoot.
Must have looked really tribal.
It was really different, and it was kind of like in the slice and dice genre. And one of the stars of the film, Brink Stevens, flew up from L.A. to shoot the film with us. And there's another name that people will recognize from Boston. Arthur Wahlberg is in the film. Jocelyn Padilla is one of the stars of the film, and Jocelyn is she's a very well-known actress in the New England, Rhode Island market.
Yeah, I worked with her on I Am Monroe.
I Am Monroe. There's another one that's coming out, guys. Watch for I Am Monroe. That's going to be a great film.
I really can't wait to see how that turned out.
Yeah. But the film was great, and it was very well received. And now it's on Netflix, and it's for sale in certain markets. I believe they sell it in Target.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going to check it out sometime then.
Yeah, that's great.
So is there anything else that you'd like to discuss?
Yes, I just hope that everybody that's doing film work locally, indies, continues with all their work. There's a lot of independent films being made. There's a lot of very, very talented writers, and there's a lot of talented there's a great pool of acting talent in the area, and I hope that the union finally wises up to that, and when they bring a production to Massachusetts, they cast all Massachusetts actors instead of bringing them in from out of town.
Exactly. All right, that was great. Thank you for watching On the Scene, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you for having us. Here's to film.